Two stints in Australia, Win, punctuated by an incident in which all our hearts went out to you, your son. Please, your overview on racing and races in Australia. How tough are the Australians compared to the world? How good? And may I ask, how legal?
Well, Group A, touring cars with factory involvement, there's so much pressure on being competitive, being up front. There are grey areas, I would say, in every motor car out there normally, or every model, whether it's done through the manufacturer, allowing parts or items to be in the grey area of homologation. There's always areas that you reach where you could stretch it a little bit. I think all the manufacturers basically accepted that. Racing in Australia was as tough as anywhere. The European Championship, anywhere. The Australian standard of driving was as good as anywhere in the world. You've got some incredibly good drivers over there. I'd put Jimmy Richards on a pedestal. I think Jimmy, if he decided to go out into the world and get on with it, his career as a younger driver, he could have done anything he ever wanted to do.
Yeah. You've had two big moments in your life, Win, the Jag at Le Mans and gardening in 2003 at home. Tell us about the Jag first. That was a huge shunt, wasn't it?
Well, the Jag was real. Funny enough, 86, I so loved Le Mans and Group C. I really did. 240 plus miles an hour down the Mulsanne at night in those cars was amazing. Without the chicanes, a straight line down the Mulsanne. It was a wonderful experience, and I took to it so quickly. Even Tom admitted that. I loved it. But the drive shaft went when we were running second in the night. That was that one over. The following year, for some reason, he didn't want me to drive. He said, "You're coming down, you can qualify the car." He said, "You're going to stand by, but you probably won't be driving." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, it's my choice." I said, "Well, I know that, but I would like to know why." He said, "You're still my touring car driver. I don't really want you to get too keen, too involved in sports cars." I said, "Well, that's a bit unfair." Anyway, we went, I qualified, I stood down, I wasn't going to get in the car. Something like 1:30 in the morning, the car was running second with Jan Lammers. John Watson decided he didn't want to drive in the dark anymore. Tom came and woke me up and said, "I don't want to do this, Win, but would you drive?" I said, "Of course I will, I'm here for." Got ready, got in the car, went out. There was an accident out at Indianapolis at the other side of the circuit. I thought I'd missed everything, debris, everything. I hadn't. My first flying lap down the Mulsanne, I got a puncture. But we had a Formula One fuel readout on the dash at that time that showed the temperature of each tyre. And if it was deflating or overheating, a light would come on the corner of the car. I saw nothing, although the car started to buck a little bit. Still flat out, rear tyre exploded. The next thing I thought, well, that's me gone. So I let go of the wheel, I brought my legs up and just did the aircraft type crash position. I closed my eyes, goodness knows why. I opened them after a while and I was above the 40-foot trees just rotating in the night sky. And I thought, "Winston, this is really going to hurt." And then it started crashing as it came down. And it crashed for 600 meters. And there was nothing left of it. But I'd worn my helmet through to my head where it had gone along on its roof. And it stopped on its bottom without anything, just the carbon fiber tub. And I didn't have a scratch. I undid the belts and walked away.
And you went back to the pits, and Tom said what?
He said, "Can you tell me what happened?" I said, "There was a bang." He said, "Do you think a brake disc exploded?" I said, "I don't think so. I don't know." I said, "I just don't know what happened, Tom. It was so instant." And then I was airborne. Dunlop boys went out because the pace car was out for something like 3 hours, I believe, rebuilding the Armco and everything. And they found enough of the rubber to show that there had been a puncture, to show what had happened. Of course, it took the rear wing off, so I had all the downforce at the front, nothing at the back, and it just went up into the night sky. But the funny thing was, I got back to the pits and I said, "Do you think I could drive one of the other cars?" He said, "You've got to be kidding." He said, "Go and lay down." He said, "When the shock hits you," he said, you'll really know it." Well, it's a long time ago. I'm still waiting for the shock.
Did Tom ever admit to you why he didn't want you to drive that day?
Yes, he did. It's in my book, and it's a bit spooky actually. He had a dream. One of his drivers had an accident and was killed. It was me.
And he thought it was going to be you.
Yeah.
Wow. So when, fast forward a decade, you're now gardening. What are you doing gardening?
That's a bit of a fairy story, actually. That one. I came home from the Grand Prix support race at Silverstone, where I drove the Hawthorne D-Type in the classic event. Absolutely love that car. Absolutely stunning. Drifting this beautiful millions of pounds worth of car around. We'd sent it out to Phillip Island. The owner sent it out to Phillip Island that year for me. I had a wonderful time out there with it and to the Grand Prix. Anyway, came home, went out in the garden the next morning, actually was going down to the barn to get a car out, and I had a sciatic nerve go. So I crawled back. The pain was unreal, as anyone would tell you that's had a serious sciatic problem. Crawled back to the house, saw the doctors. They said, the doctors came to the house, said that, painkillers, just keep taking painkillers. Convinced me there was nothing wrong. In the end, he agreed to let me get an MRI, which I should have insisted on much earlier. And we found I had a prolapsed disc. So the Formula One boys were going to get me to London to be operated on. But the local surgeon in our local hospital convinced me that he could do it and I shouldn't be moved. Sadly, he took the wrong disc out and punctured my spinal cord. So it wasn't a gardening accident. It was simply a prolapsed disc. Could have been operated on. I could still be as fit as a fiddle. Sadly, we messed up, and I was a total paraplegic for 3.5 years, and now I'm classified as an incomplete paraplegic. I've got no leg feeling or lower legs, no feet, drop feet, but I can swing my hips. So as long as I'm on sticks or a walker, I can get around and I can drive any car with hand controls, which is a brake and a throttle. And I love our classic cars down here in Spain. We've got 600 members in our classic car club, so we have some wonderful classic car events.
And you've never lost the passion, Winston, have you? You've never lost the passion.
No, you see, I was lucky really, because when the local garage man offered me an apprenticeship in 1959, he said, "I'll teach you all I know," and he was a real engineer, refacing clutches, facing brakes, boring engines, honing engines, pistonry. It was all the basic things as cars were then. So I think that helped me enormously when I became a racing driver, because I knew how everything was working. I could understand it. And lots of my colleagues just drove as aggressively as they could without truly understanding what was happening, And if a car was ailing slightly, then I could understand how to back off of that problem with the car. I think that helped me a lot, actually.
You obviously watch motor racing very carefully and closely now. Your view, Winston, on the future. Firstly, Australian motor racing. V8 supercar, now called supercar. Where is it going and where should it be going?
I saw a picture of the new Mustang. I thought that looked rather good. The racing is very good. I don't like the body contact. I really don't. The trouble is, when cars are fairly equal or more equal than when we had a class structure, it's like going to Le Mans when cars differ top speed by 100 and something miles an hour difference. You respect people more because you don't know the closing speed's quite the same. You don't get to understand the drivers because there's 55 or 60 drivers out there. When it gets to a class structure of racing where you know all the drivers, I feel there should be more knowledge, mental knowledge about the drivers you can trust and those you can't more. I go back to body contact. I don't agree with it. The other thing I really don't agree with, in fact, at the Grand Prix, I often get on, send a message to Martin Brundle to say, are there any track limits? Or are they just going off into the boondocks and coming back again? You know, because it doesn't make sense to me. If that's the perimeter of the track, put the wall there. You know, that's what we're used to. That's what we drove to. You see them now. I mean, they'll go off 2 cars' widths and come back on without any penalty at all. They filter back in. Oh, well, he didn't overtake the car, but his exit speed from that corner was 4 or 5 miles an hour more. So lucky him, before the next corner, he's managed to outrate the guy because he's had a drag from him. You know, you've only got to extend the corner width by a meter, and you bring the lap record down. You change everything. There's no point. I do feel personally that track limits should be adhered to far more than they are.
Are the drivers taking too much advantage of that?
Yes, they are. I mean, you go across Skyline, there's no point in taking advantage over there.
Absolutely not. Winston, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you very much indeed. You're looking so fit.
I do suffer with a lot of pain. I'm on a lot of medication, but that's why I'm not coming out to Ian's wonderful get together. I really want to. I really wanted to. If I'm up to it, even next year, I would dearly love to. I would like to have another trip to Australia to see everybody. And if it's next year, then so be it. I would love to.
We'd love to see you then, Winston. Thanks very much for the chat and good luck.